Today, I'm going to give you maybe the only 3 exercises you're ever going to need for strength training for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I know that searching through the internet and trying to find the best workout for Jiu-Jitsu can be a bit information overload. You're looking on various websites, you're looking at various YouTube channels, you're looking on Instagram, or you're speaking to friends, and it can just get confusing. You don't know what to do and you don't know where to start. And sometimes, even if you've got all this information, boiling it down into, okay, what can I really do? I've only got, say, 30 minutes twice a week. How can I boil it down into some really simple exercises that are going to have the broadest benefit, they're going to be the most specific to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and are going to be the easiest to implement. So that's why I wanted to record this video and give you my opinion. If you only had to do 3 exercises, or if you had a gun to your head and you could only pick 3 exercises to strength train for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, these are going to be them. So the first exercise, I'm going to be honest with you, if I could only pick 1 exercise to do for the rest of my life, this may very well be it. That's how strongly I feel this exercise has to be included in any strength training for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it's the Turkish Getup. When you think of replicating similar movement patterns that you use in Jiu-Jitsu, when you think about something that's going to give you strength right from literally the tips of your fingers through to your toes, and it's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, it's going to help you it's going to tie your entire body together in terms of working as one unit, then the Turkish Getup has to be it. So let's take a look at this exercise and break it down. Okay, let's talk about the Turkish Getup. Really quick, I don't want this video to become too long, so I'm going to talk about why I think the Turkish Getup is so good for Jiu-Jitsu. I'll do a quick demo, but I've got another video linked in the comment section, in the video description section, that links to a more detailed video breaking down how to actually do this exercise. So, the Turkish Getup, when you start on your back and you're in this position, you've got that up, you've got the kettlebell up, you've got to get up onto your elbow, you've got to post, and you've got to start moving your hips away. This is a very, very similar movement that we have to do in Jiu-Jitsu all of the time. Posting on the elbow, rotating the body, framing on our opponent and creating distance. So the Turkish Getup replicates that movement very, very well. The other thing that's going on when we're moving through this position is this takes a lot of rotational strength in the core. And as we start to move up and we're holding ourselves in various positions, it's going to be fantastic for core stability as well. Like I said, you've got a cannonball above your head, so you've really got to focus on what you're doing. So as you get into these positions, the core needs to be really tight and really engaged. So that's the second point, is it's fantastic for developing 2 physical attributes that are critical in Jiu-Jitsu: rotational strength and core stability. And the next thing that I think is fantastic about the Turkish Getup is the strength it builds in the shoulders through various different ranges of motion, because the kettlebell will start in this position, then as you come up, the arm is at a different angle to the body. As you come to this position, then ultimately here, and then standing up and the arm is straight up. That arm is at different angles to the body all the time. And I know how common shoulder problems can be in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So developing strength through the shoulder joint, stability through the shoulder joint in this way is going to have a huge performance impact, but help develop strength and health in the shoulder joint, which is really important for longevity. And on top of that, when you've got the kettlebell, you're not going to be holding the kettlebell like this, by the way, but more in this position, or whenever the arm is straight up. There's a lot of stress that goes through the elbow and a lot of stress that goes through the wrist. Now, elbow and wrist tweaks, niggles, injuries can be really common in Jiu-Jitsu as well. So developing strength in these areas is fantastic. But maybe the biggest benefit is you have to work your entire body as one unit when you're doing the Turkish Getup. There's no way around it. It's almost literally right from your fingertips down through to your toes. You're working nearly every muscle in the body. And when you can learn to use your body and recruit all of the muscles in your body as one whole unit, the athletic crossover, not just to jiu-jitsu, but to many other sports, is going to be huge. Learning to use your body in that way. So that's the fourth benefit, and why I think, for all of those reasons, the Turkish Getup is so critical to have in your strength training for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, a quick demonstration. On to the next exercise. Any good strength training program for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has to have a key focus on developing a good hip drive strength. Think about it. If someone's trying to take you down and you're sprawling on top of them, if you're on top of someone in mount and you're trying to put hip pressure on them, if you're trying to finish an arm bar and you're driving your hips through the arm, or countless other examples that you can probably think of, having a good strong hip drive is critical in any strength training program for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, there are two very common exercises that you will see applied in strength training for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. One is the hip thrust, and that's where you're kind of lying on your shoulder with your shoulders on a bench and feet on the floor on a bar across your hips, and you drive your hips up in the air. And the other one is a deadlift. Fantastic exercises, excellent for developing strength through the hips and the posterior chain. But I think the kettlebell swing is a much better exercise that applies a lot more closely to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So my recommendation is to use a kettlebell swing for developing hip drive strength. Now, why? First and foremost, how dynamic a kettlebell swing is compared to the hip thrust movement or a deadlift applies, in my opinion, a lot more to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Even if we want our game to be slow and controlled and we want to bring someone down into, a very limited movement game, it's inevitable. Now and again, you have to move quickly, and you have to move quickly with your hips. So having a movement in your strength training program, like the kettlebell swing, where you have to move quickly and move at pace, it's going to be a lot more applicable, in my opinion, and transfer a lot better into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The second reason I think you should do the kettlebell swing over those other two exercises is the instability that the kettlebell swing naturally brings into the movement. When that kettlebell is in front of you, it's trying to pull you forward, So that instability is going to develop excellent core strength as well as developing strength through the main movers of the movement, more so than you're going to get in the other two exercises. And the last one, in my opinion, is the load on the lower back, and particularly on the spine. With the deadlift, when you're pulling the deadlift and that weight is very close to your body, that load is going a lot more directly through the spine compared to a kettlebell swing. When you're pulling it up and that weight is in front of you rather than directly pulling the force down through the lower spine. There's less data and less research in this to look at the exact specifics of one versus the other. So it's more my opinion, and I think the deadlift over time, as you increase the loads, is going to put a lot more stress and a lot more strain on the lower back compared to the kettlebell swing. Kettlebell swing is not perfect. It's not going to completely take the load off the lower back, but I think it's better in that respect than the deadlift. Okay, now let's take a look at the kettlebell swing. So the kettlebell swing, for me, the most important exercise for developing hip drive strength if you train Jiu-Jitsu. I'm going to give you a quick demonstration. It may seem simple, there's a lot going on. So I want to keep this video relatively short, but in the description below there's a link to a more detailed video that's going to break down the kettlebell swing and some of the key things you need to consider to make sure your swing is good and you're getting the most benefit from that exercise. Make sure you check it out after you've watched this video. Okay, so you're probably wondering what the L pull-up is. I'm gonna demonstrate in a second, but first I want to talk about why I think it's such a good pull-in strength exercise. It's a no-brainer, right, that we need pull-in strength for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think everyone agrees with that. I'm pretty sure you're going to agree with that. But you know, we get a limit with our pull-ups once we get to a certain rep range in terms of developing strength. Yes, we can add weight. We can put weight between our legs. We get a weight belt. I've got one hanging up on the wall over there. I use it a lot. But you're still only moving in a very limited kind of plane of motion when it comes to the pull-up bar itself. So one of the things that the L pull-up does, because of where we place our legs, and again I'm going to demonstrate very shortly, it's going to move our center of gravity and center of mass in relation to the bar. So it requires a lot more leverage for us to pull ourselves up to the bar. And what that's going to do is make the muscles of the back work much harder, make the muscles in the arms work much harder. But the shoulders, it's going to be very, very good for strength and stability in the shoulder joint, because when we're further away from here, our ability to lock and hold our shoulder in that strong position is much, or not the ability, the requirement to hold our shoulder in that strong and stable position is much more difficult than a pull-up or a weighted pull-up. So it's fantastic in that respect. And likewise, places a bit more stress around the forearm and the elbow joint. So you're not getting just the pull-in strength benefit here, you're also getting some joint strength development through the elbow and through the shoulder that you're not really going to get with a normal pull-up. And the other benefit is going to be the core strength. Your ability to hold your legs out directly in front of you is going to require a lot of core strength to be able to do a full repetition of this exercise. So core strength is not the goal of this exercise, but it's an added bonus that you're developing core strength while you're developing pull-in strength. So when we take this into consideration with the Turkish Getup and the Kettlebell Swing and then the L pull-up, we're trying to pick exercises that give us the broadest range of benefits with the minimum amount of time invested, because this is meant to be a simple idea of the 3 top exercises you can do. So I hope I've convinced you to try the L pull-up. I'm going to demonstrate. If you want to see a full detailed video in terms of building up to the L pull-up and how you do it, check the link in the description below and make sure you watch that video after you've done this one. And also make sure you head over to bjjstrength.com, where I've got the L pull-up amongst other advanced pull-in exercises in a pre-built strength and conditioning program that's going to be excellent for you in your strength training as it relates to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So here's the demonstration.